Welcome to the next session. We have been talking about the technical writing, the various skills required by a technical writer, the role of a technical writer. We even looked at the communication process. Let us now look at one very important point in technical writing, which is called as the document development life cycle. It's also abbreviated as DDLC. So we are going to take a look at two models of document development life cycle. So let's go to our slides. As you can see in the slide, there are four quadrants: analyze, design, write and evaluate. A documentation cycle always begins with analysis. This includes identifying the user or users analysis, which is also called as audience analysis, analyzing the information requirements of the user, then designing the document based on the user's requirement, then actually writing that document, and then reviewing the document and evaluating whether the document meets the user's requirements or not. Now you will see multiple loops in the slide here. So every draft corresponds to one loop. So if you see three loops here, that means there are three drafts. This is what is called as the natural model of document development life cycle. If you decide to write a new document, you will probably be following these steps. Now let's look at some of the disadvantages of this life cycle. As you can see, every time you want to make any changes in the writing, you will again have to go through analysis and design. This means every draft will go through analysis and design, and this can directly lead to some amount of time wasted. To avoid this, we go to a much more refined model, which is called as a document development life cycle waterfall model. So let's take a look at our next slide. Now in the waterfall model, you see these blocks: analysis, design, write, revise, distribute and maintain. So as we mentioned earlier, you would probably see the same first four blocks, that is analysis, design, write. Instead of evaluate, you see revise here, and then distribute and maintain. Here the advantage is, once the design has been finalized, you don't go through the design phase and analysis phase again and again. So once a template for the document is ready, all the other writers, one writer or one group of writers will design the template. Other writers don't have to go through the analysis and design again and again. They'll simply reuse that template and implement that design to write various documents. So we have got a process optimization here, in the sense there won't be time spent on analysis and designing again and again. You would probably start with writing, and then you will go to revise and then distribution and so on. Last block is very important, which is maintain, which means you will be creating documents and you will be making changes to them as and when, let's say, a new version of the product is released, or it could be time based. Every year you may have different version of the document. So the cycle goes on and it repeats in itself. So in a way, maintain will go back to analyze, then design and so on and so forth. When we say design, it includes a high level design of the document. It also includes the low level design components inside the document, which can talk about things like heading, types of headings used, types of fonts used for heading, font used for body text, settings inside tables, alignments inside tables, alignments of figures to the left, indentation of text and so on and so forth. All these things are discussed in detail in the various tool training CDs that we have. Let's go to the next slide now. Let's talk a little bit about the quality control procedures used in technical writing. First and foremost, you'll need to define what is quality. Many times quality is a relative term. Something that satisfies me may not satisfy somebody else, or something that suits somebody else may not suit me. For example, if I am going to buy a car, I'll probably look for mileage, whereas there could be people who will go for the looks more than the mileage. So everybody's requirements could be different, hence quality criteria could be different. There are companies who say that one typographical mistake in 100 pages is allowed, whereas there are companies who say that one mistake only in 200 pages is allowed. So in maintaining quality, first and foremost, what you have to look at is define your quality assurance criteria. Once you have established the criteria, then you will have to define the process of quality check. There are two types of reviews: technical review, which is done by the subject matter expert, and language review, which is done by a co-writer, another technical writer. So in technical review, they'll ensure that there is technical consistency maintained. In language review, they'll ensure that the proper language consistency is maintained and the proper style guides are followed. We are going to talk about style guide in a separate session. After you have identified the process of quality control, you will need to design the feedback forms. A feedback has to be given as though what exactly needs to be improved in that document. Feedback form and the process could also be different depending on the deliverable. So a feedback form and a quality checklist could be different for a user guide and totally different for online help, because the medium is different. So the points for which a user guide will be tested may not be the same as online help. Needless to say that some of the language related points will be same in both the cases. Last, you have to check that the feedback has been given, it has been taken, and the corrections have been incorporated. Technical writing is one area where one point of feedback can lead to 70 corrections in the whole document. So you will need to ensure that the correction has been made not just in the point where it has been pointed out, but all the similar occurrences throughout the document or throughout the book. So it's imperative to implement and check corrections. So after a review, after incorporating changes, there could be a review again. Let's go ahead. Here we talk about some of the techniques used for quality assurance. First and foremost, we use a concept of a style guide. What is really a style guide? Well, a style guide is a document that gives guidelines to writers about what to write and how it is to be written. It tells writers about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. It tells the writers what are the industry's best practices to put forth some sort of information. For example, there could be alignment guidelines, there could be font usage guidelines, there could be color usage guidelines, there could also be language guidelines. How is a particular step to be phrased? How should a warning be written? How should a note be written? Some of these guidelines can vary by the company. So there are many companies who have their own style guides. These style guides are called as a corporate style guides. When you start working as a technical writer, you will need to ensure that you have checked your company's corporate style guide and you are doing all the work as per that. There are, of course, as I said earlier, some of the industry's best practices which are incorporated in almost all style guides of all the companies. And these practices keep on changing, because we today have tools which give us better control over quality, and we have tools which are defining or in a few cases even redefining processes. So the quality guidelines may change and the process of maintaining that will also change. So you will need to keep on updating your knowledge about the new evolving best practices in the industry. Let's talk about a style sheet. A style sheet is that part of a style guide which is specific to a particular deliverable. Let me explain a little bit more. So I can have a style sheet for a user guide. I can have another style sheet for online help. I can have a style sheet for web content, and I can have a style sheet for usage of logo. So a company style guide would actually be a collection of all these style sheets. On top of that, there could be some more guidelines included. So style sheet is specific to a particular document or deliverable, whereas style guide is you can say a collection of all the style sheets put together. We also use templates for ensuring quality. Now when you have got standard templates and you have got the heading fonts defined, the body fonts defined, and so on and so forth, it becomes very easy to go ahead and use them. If you are using a standard template, the scope for making mistake automatically reduces. There are tools, advanced tools available which can actually enforce and they can validate the documents that you have created. One such tool is Structured Frame Maker. It can actually validate the content and the formatting in your document. There are many other tools available, and some of them have some facilities or some features which are very specific to that tool. For example, Microsoft Word, you can write macros in Microsoft Word to run some of your quality checks. This may not be possible as it is in other tools. So there are features available in various tools which are specific to those tools, which could be very important and very useful for maintaining quality. You also see glossaries mentioned over here. Now glossaries are used in translation assignments. So let's say I am translating a document from English to Japanese, then one English word can be replaced by maybe one or more Japanese kanjis. Kanji is one of the script used to write Japanese language. Putting it the other way around, one kanji can lead to one or more English words. They could be synonymous. So in this case, which one is that I am going to use for this particular document or this particular project? This is mentioned in that particular glossary. There are tools available where such glossaries can be built into your documentation system, because the tool has a facility to have an in-house or inbuilt glossary. Something similar to the spell checker. Alright, so let's go further and let's take a look at the next slide. The next slide is about different types of documents, and I have listed two very simple document types here. First is a linear document. Now what is a linear document? This is a document that you will probably read from beginning to end. For example, let's say email, or even a letter that your friend has sent to you. Even a news item in a newspaper could be a linear document. A non-linear document is something that has different chunks of information which you may not read in the same sequence, because in one sequence they may not actually make sense. Non-linear documents are essentially made for reference purpose only. So let's take an example of a dictionary. So you will probably never read an English dictionary from beginning to end. That is a non-linear document. You will definitely read a letter or an email from beginning to end. That's a linear document. You can take an example of a novel. That can also become a linear document. A book, a story can also become a linear document. Whereas things like dictionaries, telephone directories, yellow pages, newspapers, magazines, they are all non-linear documents. When you are talking about non-linear documents, it's important to realize that non-linear document is actually made up of smaller linear parts inside. So I'll have one non-linear document which will be made up of various chunks, and these chunks could actually be linear. That's very important. Now if I want to reach these linear documents, I'll probably need some pointers. We provide these pointers in the form of entries from the table of contents of a book, or maybe index entries which are given to at the end of the book. Table of contents is always sorted by page numbers, so it tells you what heading comes on what page. Index is sorted alphabetically, so you can look for a keyword and then go to the page which contains that keyword. So non-linear documents need pointers. Even linear documents can benefit from pointers. Hyperdocuments are a specific type of non-linear documents. What is a hyperdocument? A non-linear document that can be put online. I am calling that as a hyperdocument. So online help that you will create for a software application could be a non-linear document and is a hyperdocument. You can perform a search, a keyword search in that document. You can also go through the table of contents and you can jump to various pages. You can go through the index and then jump to various pages. In a hyperdocument, it's possible to give links between pages. You click on the link, it will jump to the next page. All this is also possible on a website. In a way, a website can be categorized as a non-linear document. Let's now take a look at the various file types that a typical technical writer works with. These are the typical types of files that a technical writer works with. Let's look at them one by one. You have got .txt file. This is a simple text file. A text file is something that can have content but that cannot have structure. It can have structure, but the structure will not be possible in the form of links. The structure does not support links. A pure text file can also not be formatted using different fonts, different sizes of fonts. You cannot give effects like making something bold or italic. But text file has one big advantage. It is portable. A text file will open on almost any device that you manage to put it into. A text file can open in any browser, in any word editor, on any operating system. A text file is lightweight, so the file size is not too much. You can simply send it as a part of email, or maybe you can attach it to an email and send it. So text is where we started with, and now we have got more sophisticated file types. .doc, as you know, is a Word document or a Microsoft Word document file. .doc, as all of you know, supports formatting, supports use of fonts. It also supports creating of table of contents, indexes, and so on. Then we have got .rtf. RTF stands for rich text formatting. RTF files can be created by most sophisticated Word editors like Microsoft Word, FrameMaker, PageMaker, and so on. If you have created a content in Word and you want to take it to FrameMaker, one of the easiest ways to do that will be to save RTF and open RTF in FrameMaker. HLP and CHM are help files. .HLP is an extension of a help file that was used on Windows 95 and Windows NT. .CHM is the extension of help file that is used from Windows 98 onwards. So Windows 98, Windows 2000, Windows Millennium Edition, all of them will open a .CHM file. We use RoboHelp to create a .CHM file and even a .HLP file. More discussion about the help files is given in the training CDs of RoboHelp. .pdf. .pdf is one of the portable format, printable format, but non-editable format. You can even protect a .pdf. So if you have restricted the access, a user may not be able to print it, a user may not be able to copy from it, and so on. .pdf is very popular for distributing documents and distributing them online. .pdf files can open in browsers like Internet Explorer without having any plugin. You may need to have Acrobat installed for opening a .pdf file. HTML is hypertext markup language, which is used for embedding tags that can help in displaying the text. CSS is a cascading style sheet. .fm is a document created in FrameMaker, something like .doc created in Word. .bk is a book file created in FrameMaker. XML is an extensible markup language where you can create your own tags and then you can use them to format your document. DTD is a file which is used to define the tags used in an XML file. In this course, we are not studying XML and DTD, but we will definitely be looking at the Word documents and FrameMaker files in those respective tool sessions. Let's look at some of the reference books that you will find very useful. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at the list of books. I have listed 3 books here and they are very important. First and foremost, the name of Microsoft Manual of Style. This book is also called as Microsoft Manual of Style for Technical Publications. If you are going to do any documentation for the software industry where you will be documenting user interfaces, or you could also be documenting technical documents to be used by the programmers in-house, then this book is very important for you. Fortunately, an Indian version of this book is also available and international version is also available. Indian version could cost you something like 350 to 400 rupees. International version could be a little bit costlier. But this is a must-have book if you want to become a technical writer in the computer industry or in the IT industry today. Second book is the Chicago Manual of Style or the Chicago Manual of Style. This is one of the oldest manual of styles ever written. Chicago Manual of Style is important for everybody who is into written communication profession. So it's not just important for a technical writer, it could also be very handy for anybody who's in journalistic writing, anybody who's in feature writing, or anybody who's in publications business. Many newspapers and book publishers use Chicago Manual of Style as a standard reference content. One more book that I am going to tell you is the Elements of Style. Elements of Style is written by Strunk and White, one of the very popular books in this particular area. I have not seen a better book which describes styles and guidelines. It's a beautiful book that defines styles and tells you how you can make them most effective. This is a very handy book, almost 100 pages or less. Fortunately, an official version of this book is available in the HTML form on the web. So if you search for it, you might get it directly on the internet. It may not be a print friendly version, but it's only a 100 pages book, so you can read a considerable part of it online itself. With that, we come to the end of this session.